Good morning, everyone. Hope your Sunday fun day is off to a good start so far. Ours is. We're having a good time here in the studio, just shooting the breeze during the commercial break. And we love that you decided to tune in this morning to the Eat, Drink, Explore Radio Network, where we talk about all things food, beverages, travel, and tourism. And this is our business segment. This is when we take a look at a business that has done something we feel needs a little spotlight on it. And we have a very good friend. In fact, he works the controls just to the left of us over here, the audio controls every single Sunday morning, and is one of the main sponsors of Eat, Drink, Explore Radio, producer. Anthony, and he has a hard time digesting gluten. You don't have celiac though, right? It's he didn't test positive for celiac, but he has a gluten allergy, and when he eats bread or drinks a beer, it really does a number on his digestive system. Whereas if you have celiac, your entire digestive system seizes up.
And you're hearing more about people who are aware now that they are in some degree bothered by gluten in their diet. I think there's just a raised awareness. People are thinking, oh, I'm having some issues. Maybe it's that. And they look into it and it is. So You're seeing way more products now catering to that.
That's true. And one of the holes in the picture has been in the beer industry because beer is made with barley, and barley, just like wheat, has gluten in it. And so, and then in some cases, you have a wheat beer, for instance. And how do you get around the whole gluten issue when it comes to brewing a beer? So there were some beers out there that people made with an ingredient. We'll ask our guest in just a moment. I can't remember what it's called, but and those just, didn't pass the taste test exactly. But there is a new beer out called Omission, because they've omitted something, and that is gluten. I love the name of it. Omission beer. It's made up in Portland, Oregon by Whitmer brothers, and I did a taste test at home over the weekend. We had a small dinner party, and we literally did a blind taste test. We put a Whitmer Pale Ale product right next to the Omission Pale Ale in two similar glasses. We knew which one was which, but the one everyone doing the tasting did not. And hands down, across the board, everyone loved it. No one could pick it out.
And no one thought there's something missing in this beer.
No.
Good.
In fact, it was a back and forth. Some people were like, well, this is the one. This is the this is the one, And then, but everyone answered the same way. Can you tell a big difference between these two? And everyone said, no, not at all. In fact, it's very difficult for me to choose one that I think is the gluten-free beer. So to find out more about this product, we welcome Terry Michelson. He's the CEO there at Whitmer Brothers in Portland, Oregon, and he has a really good reason for trying to find a gluten-free beer. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning. You.
Well, fantastic. And I have to tell you, I had two of them last night, and they are delicious. The pale ale version is the only one I've tried. That's my favorite type of beer. And so I grabbed that one when I saw it was available. And I got to tell you, you really did it. This is a great product.
Well, thanks. That's really why we're so excited about this, because we really started from that perspective first. We wanted to make a great beer, something that everybody could enjoy, and then it was important for us, obviously, that it was gluten-free, so we could have that kind of beer available for people that can't tolerate gluten.
And you're one of those people. You've been diagnosed with celiac disease, is that right?
That's right. 12 years ago I was diagnosed, so I've been living with it for a while.
So here you are, the CEO of one of the largest, if not the largest, microbrewery organization in the United States. Everyone has seen Red Hook products. Everyone has seen Whitmer products. There's Kona under your label umbrella, and you can't sample any of the products you're making.
Yes, it made it kind of interesting, obviously. When I started in the business, I started with Whitmer, that brand, in the mid-'90s, and so I was working with the company for a number of years before I was diagnosed, and then once I shifted, I really had to kind of work from memory and trusting the great beer people we have in the company. But it's frustrating to not be able to enjoy something that I really love.
Right. And then as I understand it, the brewmaster there at Whitmer, his wife also has celiac disease.
That's right. His wife was diagnosed in, I think it was 2005 or 2006, and at that time, his name is Joe Casey. We started talking about trying to brew a beer that was gluten-free. There were starting to be some of the beers out in the market that used alternative grains, sorghum, rice, tapioca. And we experimented, and quite frankly, the frustration was is we just couldn't get a beer that we thought met the American beer consumers' taste demands. Mm-hmm. And although, certainly I think people that drink gluten-free beer appreciate those other beers, it's just not the same experience. So we decided not to go to market with the beers that we'd experimented with alternative grains. And then a couple of years ago, Joe was at a seminar, learned that there were some really interesting things happening in other parts of the world and in Europe. They've been working on this for a while, and basically it's a process that you brew the beer with traditional beer ingredients. That's why it tastes like all beer, and then there's a process to remove the gluten on the other side, which gives you the best of both worlds.
So the gluten is removed after? I was thinking it was somehow removed from the barley beforehand.
No, ours actually is brewed in the brewing, is removed in the brewing process, and there's a number of steps to that. We start with grains that are lower in gluten to start with, the malt that are lower in gluten to start with, and all through the process it's very stringent. But there's an enzyme that's added after it's been through the brewing process and it's in fermentation that does the final job of removing the gluten. The key to us, though, is because we knew this was cutting edge and we knew it kind of goes against what celiacs are trained that when you see barley, wheat, those kinds of things, you
right.
run the other direction, is we wanted to make certain that we knew it was safe. And so that the important aspect for us was to be able to test every batch after it's in the bottle to make certain that at no point during the process there's been any contamination or anything that was missed. And that was really the final piece to the puzzle to make us comfortable with it working. So our beer is tested with a cutting-edge test called R5 Competitive ELISA that tests for how much gluten is left in the beer. Mm-hmm. And there's an international standard now that's been kind of established that anything under 20 parts per million, which is what they use in Europe, what they use in Canada, is safe. And so we actually we have tests available online, and you can look at your batch number on the bottle and go on and see what your actual test score is.
So
for your batch of beer.
You can actually, you go pick up a 6-pack, you can find the corresponding number on your 6-pack, and then look it up online to see how the test came out.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. We picked up a 6-pack locally here at Beverages and More, and the man at Beverages and More had a question that I promised I would ask. He said that they're not allowed to sell it. They're not allowed to say that it's gluten-free. There are differing rules from state to state, even though your tests show that it's not. Here in California, is there some sort of trick to that?
Well, it's the regulatory environment for beer is kind of unique to start with. So there's a federal regulation process. The FDA in this country hasn't actually made the final ruling on the standards at this point, mm-hmm. and the Alcohol Tobacco Tax Bureau monitors labeling and all of that for beer. So because this is cutting edge, there just hasn't been a ruling in this country. We're expecting it very soon, so that's what makes it so that the only place we can say that it's gluten-free is in Oregon, where it's produced at this point. Okay. In the rest of the country, we're not able to say that at this point. Now, worldwide, in Europe, they have the same process, and they're allowed to say gluten-free. In Canada, that's the case. In fact, we're just starting distribution there. So we expect that that will happen in the U.S. very, very soon. Mm-hmm. It's just they haven't made a ruling on kind of this cutting-edge science.
And Terry, right now, people will only find it in bottle form because you don't want to risk a cross-contamination with another beer line, right? If you were to sell it in keg, it might be perfectly okay in that keg, but if they put it on a beer line that had a different beer in it, there could be some gluten left over in the line, and then someone could have really adverse reaction. Correct?
You're exactly right. The whole concern for cross-contamination is big for celiacs. So in the beer business, that's one of the key places it could happen once it leaves our brew. As being a celiac, that's one of the things that we kind of face and have to trust, is that people that are manufacturing whatever products that we're ingesting, that they've done a good job to make sure there isn't cross-contamination. And that's why the testing was so important for us, was to really assure the consumer that this was something that they could feel comfortable with.
We have less than a minute left, and I was just wondering, it sounds to me like the process is similar to people who are lactose intolerant. The enzyme lactase is added to like certain dairy products to get rid of that lactose, and you're also using an enzyme. Is it along the same lines? I'm sure there's some technical differences, but kind of that would be a good comparison.
It's similar in that there's a process that removes the gluten from it. Joe Casey would be concerned if I'd start talking about the science of it, because that's not my expertise. But you're exactly right. There are a number of products out there.
Terry, unfortunately I gotta stop you right there. Terry Michelson, CEO at Whitmer Brothers Omission Beer. If you have a gluten problem, check it out. It is delicious. Thanks for joining us this morning, Terry.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Back in a moment. Travel Deals.